we decided to work with the Appreciative Inquiry model because we were looking for a richer way to understand what we were doing. We already had a bent towards assets and strengths and successes, but Appreciative Inquiry gave us more tools and ways to think about how do we actually deliver on that promise.
We write stories that I think empower people and enable people to see the good things they do. We help show them what they're doing, because otherwise I think sometimes they don't see that.
My most memorable experiences have been, I think, in seeing how we've sparked happiness in communities, mostly workplaces, but also other settings.
We rely very heavily on questions that have been constructed by people in the Appreciative Inquiry movement. We assess our editorial agendas according to the 4D stages. Where is an organization at, or where is a task or an objective at in this process? And can we enliven any part of it that seems to need more support by going back out and asking new questions? So it really is deeply ingrained in every editorial conversation and every interview that we do.
One of our clients is the Ontario Alliance of Christian Schools, and they have more than 70 schools across the province. So last fall we designed a topic of inquiry around new families and just interviewed a variety of new families across the province. So one of the questions that we asked, that we opened with, was let's imagine it's your child's graduation day. What are you feeling? What did this school bring to your child's life that you may not have otherwise experienced? And when people went through those answers, they did, some became very emotional because it wasn't something they'd even thought of yet. They may have just enrolled their child in kindergarten, and here we are asking them to project out into the future.
Traditionally, what is happening in communications is that we're structuring very deliberate messages from the top, whereas journalism can bring to an organization the co-creation of the story, where we're reaching into a community and reaching into the lives and the work of individuals on a day-to-day basis and sharing the whole story. The innovation that Axiom News is in and of itself is twofold. One, it's an asset-based approach to journalism, and two, it's an organization-based approach to journalism.
One woman I interviewed, Anna Bejar, she was a resident living in a long-term care home of one of our clients, actually Leisure World. And she'd quite a history. She'd been born in Croatia. One of her parents died when she was young. In her older life, she lived in a refugee camp for a while before she immigrated to Ontario. And then by the time I talked to her, she was obviously living in a long-term care home. Without a trace of self-pity, she talked about how she was never really noticed by people. But in doing this, having this interview and this story, she said she felt happy. She was thankful to have that attention, and I think everyone here could speak to experiences like that. We spark a focus on people's gifts. I think that's just the start of what can happen.
Brookfield LePage Johnson Controls Inc., they're a real estate management company, and I think one of the things they've done is they've taken a long-term goal, a vision that they have for the future, and applied that. They're not just sustainable, but they actually give back, and so they can be productive in an environmental way. Stories that focus on those ideas demonstrate to everybody involved in their company that they're making progress in the right direction.
As we start to tell a story, it starts to morph, and the questions that we ask start to morph as well. So the whole system can start to move in a new direction. And that's when we're back in the room with senior leadership to discuss, these are the kinds of things that your community seems to be doing. Where would you like us to go from here? What would you like us to ask into being from here?
Mainstream journalism, what I've seen, tends to focus on the highs and the lows. And what I see anyway with the generative journalism that we're doing is we're tapping that treasure field of the middle, what many would consider regular people and events. And I personally think that's another reason that we get the kind of reaction we get, is people are surprised by the attention.
These stories are already there by the thousands. So the best thing that could happen is that more organizations embrace appreciative inquiry as a way of being, but also embrace generative journalism as a way to do communications. Our stories are the key to massive transformation.